asked for it, and here it is, with over 300 thumbs up, the sword throw. Basically, this is composed of 3 shots that you'll see here. One, Shay throwing the sword, the second one of me holding the deer and jerking the head backwards, and the third one of just the still sword. Alright, so in here in After Effects, I have the 3 clips put into the comp. First, I'm going to start by masking this one of Shay out, and just moving it over to the side here. Next, I'm going to space the deer over to the left a little bit and down so that we can get the proper alignment here. Then what I'll do is I'll time this mask out, and once the sword hits a horizontal plane, I'm going to trim this mask. Let's bring it up a little bit here so that way the sword's not disappearing. I'm going to size Shay down so that he is perspectively in comparison to the deer head here. And then once this sword hits the horizontal plane, I'm going to mask it off and it will then be out of frame. Next, we're going to add our sword here. This is just a little bit of footage here that I had of just me holding the sword. I'm going to freeze frame this and just key out everything else here. And this is a Primat keyer. It's a plugin. I just found it useful to use with the green screen suit because the green screen and the green screen suit are slightly different colors. It just helps to refine the key there versus using the traditional key light. You can use key light as well. This is just quicker, I found. And then you can select your background and then select your foreground. It's nice. And then I'm going to put on a spill killer here so we can get rid of that green glare. And adjust the tolerance. Bring it down a little bit. Looks a lot better. Okay. Collapse these. Okay, now I'm going to go back into the regular comp and place the sword here that I have made still directly over the sword that is now on the horizontal plane. I'm going to fit this to comp here and size our sword layer down a little bit so it matches the old sword. And then I just find if you make this a 3D layer, these objects are easier to move around. It doesn't necessarily need to be 3D. Okay, let's bring this up and bring this over and match this directly over the sword that Shay threw. Alright, so now what we're going to do is take this sword and animate it into the deer head. So I'm going to go over about 3 frames and then put the sword straight into the deer head so that it looks like as if over 3 frames it would fly and hit the deer in the head. I'm going to keyframe my rotation here, so that way the sword kind of goes and bends down as Shay releases it, and then just stick it, not too far into the deer head, so that it looks natural. Now you just got to play with these keyframes to get them to get this motion to look as natural as possible. Obviously, take some more time on it, so that way it looks right. So you're going to be keyframing your position and your rotation. Next, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to track the motion of the deer head. So that way, once the sword hits, the motion of the sword will become realistic in comparison as to what the deer head's doing. So I'm going to track the motion of the deer head here and then apply that motion to our sword layer. So let's do that now. And hit apply in both X and Y. And now, once the sword sticks into the deer head, it should have that motion of the deer head itself. So, as you can see here, once we applied these keyframes, it went off a little bit. So you select all these keyframes, and then you will adjust your position once again, and that will adjust the position for all of those keyframes. And let's extend the sword layer here so it travels out through the entire comp. The sword now possesses the same motion as the deer head itself. Let's bring this down here and hit trim to comp so it's just easier to work with here. And I'm going to key out some of this stuff so we can have a better feel for what we're looking at. Key out Shay here. and then let's key out the deer. I'm going to use Primat again just to make it easier. You can either use the point sampler or the rectangle sampler. It's a plugin that's made from, I think is it Red Giant? I don't even know. And then you can reselect your foreground layer to see what you want to keep. It's almost like cheating. It's too easy now. And then I'm going to mask this out so we just don't see any of this other garbage as far as the top of the green screen there and stuff around the deer. So let's mask this out. Alright, now we have a better idea of what we're actually looking at here. Now another thing that's helpful when you're doing objects flying through the air or things at fast speeds, let's turn the motion blur on this sword so it kind of just blurs the whole effect and it doesn't look so tacky. I'm going to change our transparency here in the background so we're looking at black, and then I'm going to add a fill layer here and change our fill layer to white just so we can see what we're looking at a lot better. It's just easier that way. Obviously in the regular, I had the background and then they were just silhouetted. So that's real easy to do with the fill layer here. Now when we play it back, you can see our sword motion, our sword throwing motion here. Again, you can adjust these keyframes to make the motion smoother, to line it up better, to make it quicker too. I had to go back a couple times doing the actual shot and adjust the keyframes so that it would speed up the motion of Shay throwing the sword until you got it to look pretty natural. So here's what we have. Our final comp here is Shay throwing the sword. Take a look at some of the station videos. Let me know what you guys want me to do next. I'll see you guys around. Take it easy.